Well, today is the start of a week-long initiative to raise awareness of Christian persecution around the world. Red Week began several years ago and was created by Aid to the Church in Need. It draws attention by projecting red lights onto hundreds of cathedrals, churches, and monuments. Aid to the Church in Need is an international Catholic organization offering financial support for projects worldwide. Joining us now from Germany is Mark von Riedemann, Director of Public Affairs and Religious Freedom for Aid to the Church in Need International. Mark, great to see you. Thanks so much for your time today. Can you tell us a little bit more about Red Week, how it started, and what sort of things are being done?
Sure, Tracy. Thank you for having me, first of all. The Red Week initiative started in 2015, actually, by a priest, an Iraqi priest, who came to Brazil and was telling his own experiences. He was himself captured and tortured by Islamist extremists. And he was telling of the suffering of the Iraqi people. And the Brazilian director of Aid to the Church in Need was so impressed by the story that he said, look, we have to do something. So he organized with the civil authorities to light the Christ the Redeemer statue, you know, this enormous statue that overlooks Rio, red. And this had such a phenomenal repercussion in favor of the story of the suffering Christians.
Mark, what are some of the other notable churches and monuments that are going to turn red this week?
So we are, in fact, it's a record, Tracy. We have 21 countries participating. Again, the UK with the Houses of Parliament and Westminster Cathedral. We have Christ the Redeemer statue being lit in Lisbon, not in Rio, but rather in Lisbon. Thousands of churches in the Philippines, in more than 100 churches in Austria, 3 cathedrals in Australia. And what's interesting there is that young people are going under the motto of going to Mass for those who can't. So for those suffering Christians who cannot go to Mass. A cathedral and basilica in Canada. And for the first time, which I find very touching, is the cathedral, the Maronite Cathedral in Aleppo, in Syria. So for the first time in a country of persecution, we will be lighting, together with the Maronite authorities, the church leaders there, the cathedral red in memory of the suffering Christians in Syria, but also with the sense that the Syrian population, the Syrian Christians, can also pray for the universal church and those suffering Christians all around the world.
And Mark, not a whole lot of time left, maybe about a minute or so, but wondering if you can quickly give us an update on the current situation for those Christians persecuted around the world. Sure.
There are, well, in very short, it's getting worse, and it's getting a lot worse. Violations of religious freedom against Christians and other faith groups is increasing, regrettably. The ACN report that we launched in April of this year reveals that 26 countries are in the red category, which we classify as persecution. And this is home to 3.9 billion people, so almost half of the world's population. This classification of red includes 12 countries, including 2 countries which are undergoing investigation for genocide. That would be China against the Uyghur Muslims and Myanmar against the Rohingyas. And then 36 countries which we have classified as orange, which is discrimination, is in turn home to about 1.2 billion people. So where religious freedom is neither enjoyed nor constitutionally guaranteed. And there are 3 main factors driving religious persecution today. Authoritarian governments, North Korea, China, Eritrea, for example, Islamist extremism, we're talking about sub-Saharan Africa, and finally, what we call ethno-religious supremacy. That is, countries like India, where the Hindu majority are being manipulated by the political leaders to consider that India should be for Indians and Indians should be Hindu.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on, speaking with us, and thank you for the work that you do. Mark von Riedemann, Aid to the Church in Need International, thank you again.
Thank you, Tracy. It was great to be with you.